Tuna Canyon Detention Station Coalition. First off, we'd like to thank Mayor for collaborating with us for this event, and Jim and Connie Haddad for providing this beautiful space for us to gather with you today. December 16th, this Tuesday, marks the 84th anniversary of the opening of Tuna Canyon, so it's even more special that we're all here today. So thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoy the program and our small but impactful exhibit up there. If you haven't already seen it, make sure you take a look. We also do have our new booklet that is available as well, that gives loads of information about Tuna Canyon. So some of you may already know this, but Tuna Canyon Detention Station was not a camp like Manzanar. Manzanar was one of America's 10 concentration camps. It was used as a result of FDR's Executive Order 9066, and it held, it was a mass incarceration of those of Japanese descent from the West Coast. Many were American citizens. Tuna Canyon was different. Instead of holding masses, it held a smaller population. Instead of holding families, it held men who had been separated from their families. Instead of being a result of Executive Order 9066, it was a result of presidential proclamations 2525, 2526, and 2527, which was used from the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 as authorization. Tuna Canyon was not located in a desolate area. It was located right here in Los Angeles. It was operated by the Immigration and Naturalization Service and held Japanese, Germans, Italians, Japanese from Peru, and others. The prisoners were mostly men. They were ministers, they were doctors, they were gardeners, they were priests, martial arts instructors, which is what my grandfather was. There were a few women, and the detainees were targeted, arrested, and held without due process. Today, the barbed wire and guard towers and barracks are all gone. If you visit the site, you'll see an abandoned, overgrown golf course owned by a private developer. Its destiny is in limbo. But if you look past the neglect, you can imagine those resilient prisoners under the oak trees, which do still remain. These oaks helped establish historical cultural monument 1039 designation for the site. And our hope is to one day properly memorialize it by creating an inspirational and educational setting for all to visit and to reflect. What happened at Tuna Canyon is still so relevant today as we witness lives being traumatized. Our coalition preserves the stories of those held in Tuna Canyon to educate current and future generations so that such injustice is never experienced again by any group. So in the exhibit today, you'll see our honor wall displaying the names of Tuna Canyon prisoners and also some taken to Griffith Park, another detainment site in LA that many don't know about. Dr. Russell Endo spent many years compiling this extensive list of names, and without him, the history would possibly be lost, slipped through the cracks, and forgotten. Many people have recognized their families' names on the honor wall that they didn't know had been there, adding to another piece of the puzzle of their family history. You'll hear about Kintsuchi Fujii's detainment from Dr. Brown and his connection to Tuna Canyon. And as Mayor mentioned, his name was on the honor wall and discovered. It was a piece of information that Dr. Brown hadn't really known before. My grandfather, Shinsky Sugimoto, was a prisoner of Tuna Canyon, and growing up in Burbank, I passed the site numerous times and I never knew that it had existed. I never knew this dark history. I knew it as the Verdugo Hills Golf Course. It was a place for fun, outdoor activities, lush green grass, and surrounded by hills and nature. I once played Frisbee golf there. It wasn't until decades later when my siblings and I were going through some boxes of artifacts, of my grandfather's artifacts that were stored away in the back of a closet at my brother's home. We came across a stack of letters, and on it said, Tuna Canyon Detention Station, Tonga, California, with a blue ink stamp with the same name. I knew that the Sugimotos had been at Ellamae before, but I had never heard of this place before. So I started doing research, looking online, and was shocked to discover that Tuna Canyon, not only was it just over the hill from my childhood home, but our grandfather had been held and detained there. It was something that my father had never mentioned. Shinsuke Sugimoto was born in 1884 in Kyoto, Japan, and in 1906 he immigrated to Canada. He attended Western Business College, and he eventually became a naturalized British citizen in Canada. Later he went to Harvard, where he majored in chemistry and creative writing, English literature, sorry. And at 27, he moved to England to work for the Nestle company, where he also was sent back to Japan to help open offices for him in Yokohama. He later returned to the US, and he settled in Marysville, California, where he met and married my grandmother, Misawa Toyama, in 1918. They had 4 children. My dad was the youngest. We had 2 sisters and a brother. And my grandfather served as the president and the secretary for the Japanese Association of Marysville. He supported his family through various occupations: accounting, sales, insurance, and real estate. And in 1928, he moved the family further south, where they settled in the Boyle Heights neighborhood of East Los Angeles, part of the growing fabric of the Japanese community. Like so many others, they endured the Great Depression, and my grandfather did everything from preparing tax returns to working as a janitor at the neighborhood YWCA. And though he had to keep up with his daily insulin for his diabetes, he also practiced and taught kendo at the local neighborhood dojo. On one of the exhibit panels that's not here today, but it's actually the photograph is in our book, is an image of my grandparents from 1941. This photo was the last photo that we have of them free together. It was at Hoover Dam, and they had gone on a road trip with a couple friends. And in the photo, you don't actually see it in the photo, but they were standing under the American flag. After the attack on Pearl Harbor happened, on February 21st, 1942, the FBI came and arrested my grandfather from his home. They took him to the LA County Jail, and it was because of his involvement in kendo, in martial arts, and for being on the list of names of a kendo organization why he was targeted. Like Kintsuchi Fujii, my grandfather was considered a dangerous enemy alien, guilty before proven innocent. The life he'd worked so hard for was stripped away. He was taken to the barracks of Tuna Canyon within barbed wire, being watched by guards in guard towers. In one of his letters he wrote, "I was arrested so suddenly that I had no time even to dress, so my business of income tax was so untidy." Even though he was incarcerated, he was still worried about his friend, Mr. Wakizi's tax return being finished. From his letters and postcards, you will hear his uncertainty about his future and his future of the family, who were only allowed a few short visits through the fence at Tuna Canyon. My dad was only a young teen just starting high school when his father was taken, so I can't even imagine how frightening it was for all of the families to experience that, not knowing what was going to become of your loved one. On March 12th, my grandfather was put on a train to a DOJ camp in Santa Fe, New Mexico, even further from his family while they were trying to navigate their forced evacuation. He could only look out for them from afar as they tried to figure out what to sell and what things that they could take with them. They were only allowed what they could carry. He was finally allowed a parole hearing months later, and upon his departure from Santa Fe, the prisoners there all signed in kanji his handkerchief. It's a beautiful handkerchief with an iris in the center with kanji names scattered around it. With each of those names is a story, and several of the names on there are from men that were at Tuna Canyon as well. He finally reunited with his family in Santa Fe, in Santa Anita Racetrack. And it wasn't to go watch the horse races, it was to be detained with many, many other people forced to live in tar paper barracks. And they were considered fortunate since many had to live in the horse stalls. Eventually, most of the Sugimoto family was sent to Amachi in Colorado, and they endured their harsh camp life for over 2 years. We also have a photo of my grandfather and my grandmother in front of the barracks, dressed in plain clothes. My grandfather's face was drooping because he had had a stroke while in Amachi, and the picture tells the story. It was a much different experience than being at Hoover Dam that day. Sadly, my grandfather did not survive this dark chapter in America's history, as he died while he was in Amachi after suffering 2 strokes, still a prisoner at age 61, never see his freedom again. His FBI files show that the government later questioned his arrest and detainment because he was a British citizen. I only knew my grandfather through his letters and photos and artifacts. They're not hidden away in the back of a dark closet anymore. Instead, they're part of the Smithsonian's collection online, with some having been in the National Museum of American History. The artifacts tell stories, and by illuminating the stories of the past, it inspires us to create a better future. Thank you. Now we're going to welcome Josh Tanamachi Parr, who will be reading something from Dr. Endo, who's our researcher and historian from Tuna Canyon.